There is a big problem with aspiring engineers today when it comes to finishing mixes and getting projects out the door. And I think this is a side effect of just our modern digital in-the-box production tools that we have access to now. And look, I love all that stuff. I mix in the box. I always have. I'm not saying we should go back to mixing on tape machines and consoles or anything like that. But the downside is this tendency to always keep tweaking and to never actually say, okay, this mix is done. It's getting out the door and I'm not going back to change it anymore. People have a really hard time making that call, and maybe you do too. And it's easy to get sucked into that temptation, that endless loop of just tweaking and going back and starting again, trying a different drum sound or a different drum kit, drum sample, trying a different guitar amp sound, swapping out this plugin for that plugin, getting a new plugin. Oh, maybe this is gonna make my mix better that I was working on last week. I'll go back and start again. There's that temptation to just keep on tweaking, and theoretically there's always more you could do. And it's not hard to recall stuff. You just open up the session. It's not like you gotta recall a whole studio of outboard gear and tape and console and all that. You just open up the session and keep tweaking. And lots of people just get stuck there spending weeks, sometimes even months, working on the same mix, the same song. So I wanna give you the secret to actually finishing more mixes, getting projects out the door and moving on to the next one. And it's this: you've got to set deadlines. Now, setting deadlines just on its own is actually not enough. I'll talk more about that in a second. But as a starting point, you've got to have a deadline. Put something on the calendar and say, this mix is getting done by this date. And that goes for you whether you're working on your own music and recording, mixing yourself, getting that out there, or if you're doing this for clients. You've got to have a deadline. Now, like I said, that on its own is not enough. Why? Because chances are, like me, you're probably just at home or in your studio and you're always by yourself mixing your own projects, especially if you're not even doing it for clients. If you're just doing it for yourself, even if you're just trying to learn and practice and get better, who's gonna hold you to that deadline? Only yourself, right? So you could say, just have the discipline to set a deadline and stick to it. And that's true, but I wanna go a step further and tell you how to actually make sure you follow through and stick to the deadlines that you set for yourself. The trick is to commit and make yourself accountable to that, to other people on that deadline ahead of time, before you even start. So when I book a mixing project, part of the confirmation, invoice, info sheet, right on it, it says the mixes will be delivered on or before this date. And I literally say the date, I put it in my calendar, and I tell the client, you will have your mixes on this date. So I commit to it ahead of time before I've even received the tracks, the material. It's in my calendar and they know about it. And just like that, I'm on the hook. I better follow through, because if I don't, they'll be unhappy and I'll just look bad. So that's the real trick to making deadlines work and getting stuff done. You've got to be accountable to other people. Now, what if you're just doing your own thing, getting your own music out there? Well, same principle applies. Set a release date for your next single or your EP or whatever it is. Set a date, even if it's before you've started recording at all. But even if you're in the middle of working on it, it's time to set a date, set a deadline, start telling your followers, your fans, even your friends, tell them, I'm gonna have something to put out. I'm gonna have this new song or this new video or whatever it is. It's gonna be up on this date. Get ready. And start telling more and more people about it, because that is what's gonna push you not to let them down or feel like an idiot for saying you're gonna do something and not doing it. All of a sudden you've got some external accountability and you're much, much more likely to follow through. I try to do this in every area of my life, whether it's a recording or mixing project like I just explained, or even if it's making a mixing course or something like that. Pretty much every single online course that I've taught and put out there, I've actually set a date and started telling people the course is going to be released at this time, sometimes even before I've started making it. But that's how I know it's going to get done. So you can't be afraid to get yourself on the hook to do something, to get something done. And this is really important, because if you stay stuck working on the same song and the same project for weeks, months, some people, you're even working on their own music for years and never releasing it, thinking that they could always just keep tweaking and keep making it better. This is a recipe for failure. You're always gonna be stuck in the same spot. If you wanna get to a finish line, you've gotta start moving, putting things behind you so that you can get forward, move forward and get to that end point. And there's actually a true story I heard about a photography professor, a teacher in some class, and at the beginning of the year, he separated the class into two groups. And the one group, he said, Your task is to take as many pictures as possible. So throughout the year, just take as many photos as you can. Don't worry so much about the quality and how good each one is. You're going for pure volume. Just do as much as you can. And the other group, he said, at the end of the year, you're going to be judged on one photo. You only have to take one photo, and I'm going to mark you based on that. And at the end of the year, he looked at the work done by those two groups, and guess what? The group who was tasked with just taking as many photos as possible, with doing as much work as they could without really being as concerned about quality, they ended up with better photos than the group who had the entire school year to just work on one photo. The same goes with your mixes. If you're finishing 10 mixes a month, well, it might start off not that good, but at the end of like 3, 6, or 12 months, your mixes are gonna sound way better than someone who's been working on the same song for the last 6 months, guaranteed. So that's the key, setting a deadline, but going further than that and telling other people so that you're actually on the hook to follow through. Now, one of the reasons you might be procrastinating is because you think it's just not good enough. Like you want to deliver this mix to the client, or you want to get your next single out there, but you think the quality's not good enough. I need to learn more. I need to do better. And so you procrastinate and you go back and you keep tweaking, and you keep trying to learn and make it better. Well, the truth is this is a horrible mindset, and it will keep you stuck forever. So if you think that your work is not good enough yet, or you need to just keep getting better, well, it is incredibly important for you specifically to actually finish stuff and get it out there. So I've got another video I want you to watch right now after this one. It's called You Should Be Embarrassed, and it's all about getting over that hurdle and getting stuff out there, getting your mixes done and out the door, even if you're not feeling that confident about it. So click the link popping up somewhere on the screen here to go watch that video called You Should Be Embarrassed, and start setting deadlines and sticking to them by making yourself accountable to others. Talk soon.